Oh,
Hey, you okay?
some damn enchiladas.
Welcome back, friends, to another episode of Camp Cinema. As you can probably guess by the display on the table, we are talking some Friday the 13th. Matter of fact, we are going to do my personal ranking of these movies from worst to best. We're going to do this as a math 4-part series reviewing 3 movies and their rankings in each episode, being that there are 12. Okay, we're just going to jump right to it. And we are going to start, of course, with the worst. Coming in at number 12, I'm sure this is no surprise to anyone. Jason X, or rather known as Jason in Space. Once a horror franchise takes themselves into outer space, you pretty much know that that is the end of that franchise.
You ball-busting bitch!
Actually, it ended up not being the end of it. There was, Anywho, we'll get to those later. But this is absolutely a colossal turd. I don't care what anyone says. I know that there's the die-hard Friday the 13thers. And look, I'm one too. I have an enormous Friday the 13th collection. But I will not say I like a movie just because it is part of a franchise. And I think a lot of people do that with this turd. I will be the first to say that Kane Hodder is not my favorite Jason. Kane Hodder is in all of the worst Friday the 13th put out. I'm going to take that back. There's a few other bad ones. But I am just going to say that while Kane Hodder did a nice job as Jason Voorhees in one movie, he can't save some of these turds, and this is one of them. Jason Goes to Space is horrible. Now, I will say it has one redeeming quality in which it does have one of the best kills in the entire Friday the 13th franchise, and that is when the girl gets her head shoved into the liquid nitrogen and it instantly freezes, and then he smashes it onto a corner of a table or whatever, and it shatters into pieces. That was definitely one of, if not the best kill in the franchise. I give it that. But other than that, this movie is absolute garbage. Plot is some space exploration team of teenagers that are all really 30 plus years old, come to Earth in way hundreds of years from now, and they find Jason Voorhees and some chick cryogenically frozen, because it started off in normal time on Earth, and she tries to outrun Jason and sticks herself in a cryo unit, and they both get frozen for hundreds of years, and then are thawed out by these 30-year-old teenagers on a spaceship. One good kill. Face smash. Blast. Did I tell you that Jason turns into the Terminator in this movie too? Yeah, that's right. He gets shredded by some android that there's a whole plot line about should she have nipples or not. And just so you can get a little bit of that gratuitous nudity that Friday the 13th is so well known for. But yes, this is a very conversation, piece of should she have nipples and are they placed right? But anywho, this android sex bot is also like a Terminator herself, and she takes on Jason, and she pretty much blows him to pieces. But he just so happens to fall on a regenerative table, because in the future they put you on a table and it just fixes all your shit. And somehow it decided to redo his flesh with chrome and metal, and he becomes Uber Jason. And I gotta tell you, that's all I got for that turd. Let's move on. Oh yeah, we're rolling tonight, people. We are rolling tonight. The next on the chopping block of ultimate turds in the top 3 worst Friday the 13th, coming in at number 11, is Jason Goes to Hell. I don't understand let's take a step back. This is now, Paramount finally realized that they needed to be done with the Friday the 13th franchise. Even Frank Mancuso knew that it was over. It was done. They needed to move on. So they ended up selling the rights to New Line Cinema, which, as we all know, is the house that Freddy Krueger built. So Sean S. Cunningham, being associated with New Line Cinema, basically gets the rights back to Friday the 13th. Now, the problem is, though, is that Paramount still owns the name Friday the 13th, but New Line was allowed to take over and make more movies with Jason. Hence, how this is not called Friday the 13th, but it is called Jason Goes to Hell, the Final Friday. It's almost a tie between Jason in Space and Jason Goes to Hell as far as the worst movies in this franchise, for sure. But I had to put Jason X as the worst because it was in fucking space.
You ball-busting bitch.
This one, where to begin with this precious jewel? So all of a sudden, there's this whole new lore of what Jason actually is. Jason is just a being that has possessed this form for what have you, however many years these movies were going on, 20 plus years at this point in time. So this is just a fake form. This is not actually the entity of Jason Voorhees. So Jason Goes to Hell starts off with woman in the woods, cabin, alone. Of course, Jason comes after her. What we don't know is that she's actually an undercover FBI agent leading Jason Voorhees into a trap. Lights go on, and they basically shoot a rocket launcher at Jason, and explode him. This is in the first 5 minutes of the movie, so you're kind of sitting there going, I don't know what's going to happen because you just blew up Jason Voorhees. Come to find, during the autopsy, for whatever reason, Jason's beating black heart during the autopsy, the mortician decides he needs to take a bite of this heart. And becomes the new, now possessed by the spirit, the essence of Jason Voorhees. And yeah, so Jason now jumps bodies. Yeah, you heard it here first, I'm sure. Anywho, once again, this movie has a one redeeming quality with another one of the best kills in the entire series of Friday the 13th does happen in this movie, and it is in a tent with a very enthusiastic lady. Basically gets impaled by like a stop sign or something through the back, and it splits, and she splits in half. And of course I can't show that on the YouTubes because that would be a no as far as you cannot show nudity on YouTube, because as we all know, nudity is horrible. Anyways, so we also find out that Jason has a whole family that we never knew about. It was not just him and Pamela, apparently. Apparently he has a sister. Now he has a niece and a grandniece, and they all tie together, and you got all this hocus pocus, and then you've got, what's the guy's name? I'm going to say Stephen Williams.
Son of a bitch. You remember me?
He was on some cheesy show in the 80s with like Johnny Depp, 21 Jump Street. He was like the captain or whatever of these. Never mind, you're not here for that. Anyway, back to this. And he is like a Jason Voorhees bounty hunter, and he knows about this entire lore that no one else has known about ever. And apparently there's only a Voorhees can die by a Voorhees and be reborn by a Voorhees, and so apparently Jason's family has a old Voorhees mansion that he finds his way to, and finds his sister and kills his sister, but then gets interrupted by it. And his sister, by the way, is Erin Gray from Silver Spoons. You're talking, you got some star power in this film here, my friends. You have some star power. Anywho, she gets killed. She gets dumped in a basement. They realize, as they're the boyfriend of the niece and the father of the grandniece is trying to save the niece and his daughter, and Jason Voorhees is reborn into his form through a demon lizard that enters his sister through her hoo-ha? That is correct. He is reborn that way. And that is it for Jason Goes to Hell. Oh man, if you guys have stuck it out this long, you are true fans of this series and just want to see where I'm going with it. And where I'm going with it is going to be number 10 on the list, rankings of Friday the 13th series. You know it's coming. Jason Takes Manhattan. Now, I'm gonna say that we have done away with, obviously they were ranked 12 and 11, with the absolute trash garbage of this series. Those two movies, they shouldn't even exist. They are atrocious. Jason Takes Manhattan's borderline. At least it's a Friday the 13th. At least you know what you're getting with Jason Takes Manhattan. While it may be ludicrous, and it is, and while it is not a good movie, because it is not, it is still a Friday the 13th. He's not in fucking space.
You ball-busting bitch.
And he's not shape-shifting and jumping from bodies to bodies and being reborn through hoo-has. So, This one, though, it's a little, the ongoing joke about this one, of course, if you've watched the behind the scenes and all of that, it's more of Jason Takes Vancouver, because pretty much besides one scene in Times Square, they filmed this entire thing on a cruise ship and the rest of it in Vancouver.
Good day, welcome to Canadian Corner.
Because very expensive to film in New York, apparently it is not very expensive to film in Vancouver. But anyways, at least we're back on the track and on the path of what a Friday the 13th is. Now, overall, this is the most watered down Friday the 13th out of all of them. The kills are completely neutered in this movie. I feel bad for the director. At this point, Paramount movie ratings, you have the PMRC out there, you have just everyone coming after horror films and nudity and slashers and blood and guts, and 80s was a complete decade of excess, and any of us that grew up in it know that for sure. And it was from music to movies. But by this time, you were really starting to get those hammers by the censors. And this movie absolutely suffers from that. The kills are extremely neutered. But this picks up directly where Part 7 leaves off. Jason is back buried at Crystal Lake, and a young couple, of course, they just want to make some love, and they just want to make some love on a boat on Crystal Lake. And when they drop anchor, apparently Jason is laid to rest on electrical cables, and when the anchor hits him, zzz, Jason is reborn through the power of electricity once again. Somehow, after killing this couple on the boat, sadly before they got to make love, sorry, dude, you tried. He drives this boat from Crystal Lake to the Pacific Ocean. I didn't realize that the lake could sink up that way, but apparently it does. And he finds his way to this cruise ship of high school graduates getting to go to New York. Once again, our high schoolers are played by 30-year-olds, as they always are in these movies. And 90% of this film is shot on this boat. I cannot say that this movie, like the other two, it really doesn't have a super kick-ass redeeming kill that you can go, okay, at least it has that. Because the kills were so watered down. I remember I was so excited. I actually saw this movie in the theater, okay? And I remember it had been a long time since a Friday the 13th had come out. They kind of had taken a little bit of a break. And after Part 7, and then Part 8 came out, and I'm like, it's going to be in New York. Holy crap. I was so excited to go see this movie. And yeah. Jason didn't even look cool. Like, you do have Kane Hodder playing him. This is his second time playing Jason Voorhees at this point. He started in Part 7. This was his second time. And while the concept in Part 7, the look of Jason Voorhees may be one of the better, if not the best, as far as your return from the dead Jasons are concerned. But this one, he's just like covered in slime and goo, and he's just always just like, he looks like Bill Murray after he slimed me. He looks like that. Literally, he's just dripping freaking goo. Like, where'd the goo come from? Why is he covered in goo? Jason Voorhees should not be covered in goo, but he was. The one and only, I guess, with the kills, that if you want to take a standout kill from this film, would be Julius, the boxer. They're up on a rooftop, and this kid gives it his all. He goes at Jason as tough as anybody in any one of these movies ever has. And poor Julius, he just wears himself out. He tells Jason to take his best shot.
Take your best shot. Motherfucker.
And Jason does, and with one hit, decapitates Julius, in which his head spins off, falls off a building, and lands in a dumpster. So as far as spectacular kills go, for this movie, that would have to be it. Now, where this movie really, really shits the bed is, first of all, your main characters are atrocious. And once again, I haven't even gotten started on how the timeline of Friday the 13th works, because there is no timeline, okay? But we have the girl who's the graduate. It turns out that her uncle's a real piece of shit, and he was trying to teach her to swim in Crystal Lake, and he threw her in, and young monster Jason was down there waiting for her, so she's horrified of water, and somehow has a kinetic connection with the kid Jason. It's so fucking stupid that I can't even believe it was greenlit on paper.
You gonna get it, bitch!
But it was. Now, so you have a horrible script, and then you have, I'm going to have to go on a limb and say that this one may quite possibly be the worst acted one of them all. And that is a bold statement, but I have to go there. I truly believe this is the worst acted Friday the 13th out of all of them. But so as I said, watered down kills, terrible, terrible acting, and then the end of this movie is just so beyond the realm of ridiculous that I couldn't even comprehend it while I was watching it. They get down into the New York sewer system, and apparently New York every night at the stroke of midnight floods toxic waste through their sewer system, and in which Jason gets caught in a tidal wave of toxic sewage and is somehow reverted back to his child self. And there you have it, my friends. Part 1 of 4 of my ranking of the Friday the 13th series. I assure you from this point on, it does start to get a little bit better. I'm not going to say it gets much better till we weed through a few more, but it does at least have a consistency, a Friday the 13th slasher consistency. And we will explore that on the next episode when we run through 9 through 7 of the ranking of the Friday the 13th franchise. And as always, my friends, I just want to say once again, thank you so very much for clicking on this video. If you made it all the way through, you are a champion. I always love to say it because I truly mean it. This is 100% a passion project for me. I do this because I truly want to. And if you are enjoying it, thank you so much. And I do truly hope you stick around for more episodes. Once again, thank you so very much and have yourselves a wonderful evening.